Hello and good morning, Blue Jays fans, and welcome to Jays Latest. I am your host, Craig Borden. We are going to talk all things Toronto Blue Jays this morning, and we got some actual good Blue Jays topics to talk about today, not just Major League Baseball in general. So why don't we just dive into the headlines? So, not sure if you are aware or not, but one of the Blue Jays' favorites is a free agent. His name's Bo Bichette. Just saying, he's kind of good. So he's holding over a lot of Major League Baseball right now with Kyle Tucker and a lot of the other big free agents that have not signed yet for some reason. And at the end of the day, Bo Bichette is going to make crazy bank. And unfortunately, Ken Rosenthal on the Foul Territory podcast yesterday just mentioned that it seems more and more unlikely that the Blue Jays are going to re-sign him. And he cited a couple of good points, especially after the Kazuma Yamamoto signing the other day. Akamoto is going to be a third baseman, but it does move some other Blue Jays pieces around to make up for the Bo Bichette part. So in the midst of this whole thing, Bo Bichette is an incredible talent. He deserves probably what he's asking. I'm not sure exactly what he's asking, but it sounds like it's to the tune of about $30 million a year, which, give or take, could be accurate. According to StatTrack, they're expecting that he's going to make around $23 million as his average out. But to that point, is he asking for more? Maybe more likely. So, but the big reasons that Ken Rosenthal ends up actually calling out this whole thing was the fact that the Blue Jays are seeming to put their money all in one basket with Kyle Tucker. That could be true. But the other part of this whole thing could be to the fact that, you just have Ernie Clement, Andres Jimenez, Asim Barger, all these other pieces that would need a home if you re-sign Bo Bichette. Those guys are also fan favorites. And yeah, it could be that simple. But as far as most Blue Jays fans go, he does say obviously that there will make a fit if they can get Bo Bichette back, and it'll work. They're just inevitably going to create a trade for somebody, and those guys I just mentioned, unfortunately, are the ones with the highest trade value at the moment. And Blue Jays fans obviously won't be terribly super happy about that one either. So the way you slice it, we're going to get better at those positions one way or the other, which is really good. But it might hurt a little bit along the way. So keep that in mind, Blue Jays fans. Trust the process. And let's run this thing back to the World Series. So, on that note, Blue Jays did solidify a few people last night. So if you are not aware how this process works, the Major League Baseball, Players Association, the owners, everybody, for young players have a cooked-in process, so you get a raise, basically. The arbitration process is after you have so many years of your quote-unquote rookie deal to play or so much playing time, you get a chance to get a raise. And basically, as you plead your case to a third-party person that is not affiliated with the team or the player, and they just look at the numbers that each of those two parties provide, and they say, yep, we think you're worth this much, and here's why. But that's after both parties plead their case. We have heard how some of these hearings go over the years, and sometimes it doesn't sound like the most wonderful of processes. Bo Bichette being one of the ones that obviously this might be part of the reason he has not signed with the Toronto Blue Jays in this current management group is because that arbitration hearing apparently had some, well, he doesn't do this right things, he doesn't do that right things from the team trying to, quote unquote, make the dollar amount that they want from the arbitrator. And, it's business, but how can you not take that personally at the same time? But that's how that process works. But like I said, the idea is that there's a 3-year window before you become a free agent that you would guarantee yourself a raise, or the team would quote unquote non-tender you, and then you go out in a free agency early. So right now, the Blue Jays avoided arbitration with 3 key players: Ernie Clement, Tyler Heineman, and Dalton Varsho. So that's 3 of the 4 players that were arbitration eligible for the Blue Jays. Dalton Varsho agreed to a 1-year, $10.75 million deal. Then this means it didn't go to the hearing. That is them saying this is how much you are going to make this season, and we're not going to have to deal with this thing. Ernie Clement gets a nice raise, $4.6 million this coming season. And then backup catcher Tyler Heineman, who had his easily best year as a catcher in the major leagues, gets a raise to over $1 million. So there you go. 3 Blue Jays locked up out of the 4. There is one catch, though. The one that, in my opinion, also deserved a pretty decent raise, because I can't imagine what our pitching would have looked like without Eric Lauer last year. Eric Lauer is heading to an arbitration hearing, and he will be seeking a $5.7 million deal, is what the player filed, Eric Lauer, and the team filed a $4.4 million. So that doesn't mean they can't talk contract between now and when the hearing would be. Usually, I think it's March or late February. Late February, I think. So in the midst of that, it'll be after he's already in camp. They have a chance to maybe talk a little bit more, all that kind of good stuff. But that is a decent sized gap. And honestly, I don't know how you can argue that Eric Lauer isn't the 5.75 after the season he had last year. He was incredible. Like I said, I don't think you make the playoffs. I don't think you make the World Series without what Eric Lauer did to solidify and have a crazy run earlier in the season. And then, to unfortunate reality, the Blue Jays went all in at the trade deadline. Some guys got healthy, and they brought in all these other pitchers to push Eric Lauer out of that rotation spot, which he still did really well in the bullpen. So there is that too. But that is how that process works. If you are not aware of it, or a freak of MLB the Show like I am and play it every year, franchise mode is fun to see how this stuff works. Is all I'm going to say. But that is the nuts and bolts of the arbitration process. But in theory, like I said, it should give players that play well an opportunity to get a raise instead of having to wait for their free agent part of their career. So, what do you think of Blue Jays fans? Let us know what you think about Bo in the comments. Are you excited that we do have most of these guys locked up? Lauer obviously will still be a Blue Jay, because at the end of the day, that will be a pick one of these numbers for that arbitrator, and that's what he'll make for the 2026 campaign. So hit the like, share buttons. Talk to you soon, and as always, let's go Blue Jays.